ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second episode of Astral Stew. Myself, Josh Rutledge.
Myself, Stefan Gearhart.
Myself, Santosh.
And whatever spirits might be joining us on this call.
Probably June Blitzer.
Probably.
Rest in peace, honey buns.
Rest in peace, honey bun. That's right.
I feel like you should buy some honey buns and just put them on the counter.
An altar for her. Oh my God, we need to have a seance.
I'm getting ready to give up sugar, and I would eat them. If they were there.
So I gave up sugar. It's been so I went on YouTube. And I found a hypnosis.
It's a dangerous place.
I know.
I was like, this could go so many directions.
Trust our hypnosis friend here who does hypnosis, but you gonna trust YouTube.
No, it's not that. It's not that. I just was like, I'm gonna give it a whirl. Look at you.
I had a fan. I just thwarped a fan, and I had no fan in my fucking hand.
What is that?
Right, I look like Ernest's mom. Oh,
you're like a librarian there for a little bit, but anyways, no offense to librarians everywhere. So
sorry,
went on YouTube, found the hypnosis session that was like 15 or 18 minutes, like that. That was to do away with your sugar urge, your sweet tooth. And because I've been having such good results with meditation and getting really into the meditative state, I thought, hey, this is the time where hypnosis is going to work for me. So I got into my position that I get into for meditation, all the lights off and everything. And did the hypnosis for sweet tooth removal. You know, like they pulled it out. It was a surgery. And for real, I mean, we've got sweets in the house, and I've walked by them several times and have not felt the urge to do it.
Don't tell Santosh, but if you could forward me that would be great.
Well, did you hear what his ass said? It's going to work for me this time. What half-ass bullshit attitude were you probably bringing the first time round?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it wasn't so much that the hypnosis was going to work. It was just like I've always said, I can't be hypnotized. And
everybody says that.
I know. But some people, like Mr. Gearhart over here, like you say the word, I'm going to count down from 10. And before you get off 10, he's like, boom, he's out. Next thing you know, he's pulling popcorn out of his pants. You know, I mean,
I'm very susceptible.
A regular day pulling popcorn out of his pants. Jeez.
I eat popcorn every night. Different. But yeah, no, it's the same thing with improv. Everybody's like, I just can't do improv. And I'm like, take a class with me. I'm sure you can do it. You're doing it right now. You're talking.
I can't draw. Can you make a mark on a piece of paper? You're drawing.
So you mean you can't draw well?
I saw this really cool.
Or you can't do portraits at this exact moment.
Yeah. Yes. I can't draw noses. I'm going to be honest there. So.
Oh, I suck at noses. Do you? I can do eyeballs pretty good, but man, noses, if it's not a cartoon nose that just goes whoop.
Yeah. If it's not a
they look like
nose.
My nostrils are like.
Like maybe that's just a new form of art stuff. You need to draw a big face with humongous nostrils and then draw people living inside the nostrils. Boom.
Or if I draw the nose first, I can draw everything else to match it, and then it won't look so big.
So how you guys been? You doing all right? It's been a month since we recorded one of these. Yeah.
Yeah. So New Year's, my wife and I decided to do ritual together, which she's not a practicing pagan. So it was a really big deal for me.
Was it the Star Sapphire? Because I involved it.
No, it was not the Star Sapphire. But it was, she's been reading different things on intentions and kind of new agey positive thought stuff, which is great because I'm already into that. And so she had a ritual in one of her books that was just about putting your intentions out there to the universe for 2021 to kind of just help move them along and things like that. And I was like, oh, well, this is great. We can merge that ritual into an actual pagan ritual. And it was fantastic. I mean, it was really, really great. We got to do all those things. We walked through this doorway, which was part of the spell, jumping into the new year, so to speak. And, we worked with Jana and Janus the god and goddess that what her book said to do, which was really interesting because it's not a pagan book, so it was really interesting to use a god and goddess, but worked perfect for me. So yeah, it was really, really good. And I mean, already a day or two later, I'm already seeing effects happening, things that, they were like, be specific, and don't hold back. And I put some really cool things out there, and so did she. And we're both already seeing things happen that were on those lists. So it's really interesting.
So
So
did you?
Santosh, if your hair turns green and you get a jolly green giant that moves in with you, sorry.
Jolly green. Well, as long as he's jolly and giant in the right proportions in the right areas, we'll be okay. But boy, did that speech take me back to a carpet floor in Albuquerque, like throwing down some,
Yep.
throwing down some great work.
Yep.
That was a play on words. Great work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Anyways,
Anyways,
doing pretty good. Santosh, you're doing good. You look good.
Oh, thanks, baby. I don't know anymore. Time never made sense to me in the first place. And now that everybody's on quarantine time, I'm like, what day is it? I have no idea. So I feel hopefully I can spin it to sort of a Jack Sparrow, kind of really got no clue what I'm doing, but if I stay charming,
you're falling in the right
well
direction.
on camera. What?
You're falling in the right direction.
Yes, that's exactly it. That is exactly it.
Yes. Yes. Too many of my exes. That's what I thought.
You know what's really weird? Like, I don't want to get into like exes and heartache and all that kind of stuff, but what made me late was typing out my tarot draw thing, and this week is Three of Swords. So that heart is pierced with 3 different swords, and I'm like, damn, I don't need that energy right now.
It's there for a reason, though. Remember,
right?
What's the flip of it? What's the reverse of it? What you gonna learn?
Well, actually, what I'm trying to articulate in my little write up is we learn not to want things very early, or at least I did, and it shows me that I still have a functional distrust of my heart. Like,
oh, for sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like, don't fall in love. You fall in love too easy, too quick. Don't, like, I can't trust my heart not to like lose its damn mind. And that's kind of the energy I'm getting from those. It's like they're not stabbing like betrayal that you get a lot, like the heart's been stabbed, but it's more like pinning it down so it doesn't just like go the hell off while you're not watching it.
I know some of that for me is growing up. Poverty is I don't trust anything to last. Like
growing up poverty, you are poverty. It's
growing up in poverty.
Oh, okay.
I manifested poverty. Growing up impoverished, I did. To this day, I still have a healthy distrust of anyone that makes more money than me. Like I feel like they're out to get me, to scam me, to do something. I don't trust them. I feel like the ball is always going to drop anytime I do get any money coming towards me. I'm like, oh, this is great, but I'm probably going to get fired next week now that I've got this extra money, and it's just going to hold me over because, and that I hate that. I hate that lives within me. But yeah, I think some of that comes from growing up like that. So for me, anyways. And it translates into emotional stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, I had an uneventful new year. I don't have any baggage to unpack. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Bitch, I got plenty of baggage I can handle.
Ooh, if I was host right now, I would mute you so hard.
No, I'll just say that life is hard with 2 kids at home for months. I mean, months doing school stuff at home.
I can't imagine.
And then we went straight from normally, you have your 2 weeks of holiday break, but you have the end of that to look forward to because they go back to school. Well, no, because it's quarantine. And so they just continue to stay at home. Only now, instead of the TV babysitting them for 8 hours a day, now I actually have to make sure they're doing their math and they're reading and all that kind of stuff too. So woe is me. But It's just that's my only thing. It's just but as of right now, they're supposed to go back to school in person on January 11th. And like every day when the governor has his news conference, I'm on pins and needles for him to say, we're going to ask the schools to go ahead and extend things until May. We're just going to finish out the school year in NTI. That's not, by the way, what Bashir sounds like, but that's, so.
I know one thing that that I was talking to somebody, I don't know if it was you or not, but somebody in Kentucky, we were talking about how like we now know that snow days are no longer going to be a thing because now we know they can still go to school if it's shut with snow.
Well,
and that kids will no longer have snow days, but it also means they won't be going into like July, like
right.
first.
And stay at home sick days. You can still work on a computer.
Yeah.
No, I think we'll see this year, at least the Oldham County, there are no sick days this year because of COVID. So like they're pretty much saying rubber stamp, even if you had a sick day, we're not going to hold you to having a sick day. I'm pretty sure because of COVID. But even we used to live in Shelby County, and Shelby County had something called the snow day extension. And that was, if there was a snow day, they would still do school at home. And the state would allow them to do that. But then the problem was that a lot of the teachers weren't taking it seriously. And so they would just send home like color sheets and say, here, this is your school day. Because the teachers look forward to school days just as much as kids do.
Yeah,
right?
the snow days too.
Yeah. So they were calling into question. And I think had COVID not been a thing, I just don't know how much this is going to stick around past COVID is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are saying everything's going to change now, but then there's a lot of people saying it's just going to go back to the way it was as well. I don't know.
I think it'll be, I don't think it'll be what it is now, obviously, but I think it'll be different. It's not going to be what it was.
I think people will try.
Yeah.
They, like every one of us will try to regain some normalcy as desperately as we can, consciously and unconsciously. We'll seek that out.
In Arizona, they just live the dream. Like,
I know. You message me every other day telling me it's 72 degrees here.
Oh, well,
it's so perfect.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. So everybody out here, this is when they're out moving around and doing stuff, and it's packed everywhere. I mean, it was we live a block away from the entertainment district in Scottsdale, and it was packed New Year's Eve night, and they weren't, adhering to the COVID policies in any way, shape, or form. There's no one like enforcing it. Like some states, they have security or police force that kind of enforce those things. Arizona does not. Now during regular days, they're pretty strict. Most places are pretty strict about it, but I know like those big nights where they know they're going to make a ton of money, they're like, oh no, I didn't see anything. It's fine. But speaking of which, my sister got, since she's a frontline nurse, she got her first vaccine the other day.
Sweet. Keep me updated on all of her abnormal growths and new superpowers.
Nothing.
Yeah.
She has had absolutely no issues with it at all. Though, I mean, they ask you 100 questions like, are you allergic to this? Are you allergic to, they're pretty hardcore about it. And they kept her there for like 2 hours to monitor to see if anything was going to happen. But she's been, she said her arm hurt a little bit, kind of like a tetanus shot.
Yeah.
But other than that, she was jamming. We were hiking that day.
I mean, I got a Tdap back when the girls were born, and it hurt for like a couple of days where they put the injection in, but that's just because they freaking shoved the needle in my muscle. So
Oh, dude, last tetanus shot I got, she hit my bone, and she goes, "Oh, did I hit your bone?" And I was like, "Yes, you bitch." It fucking hurt, dude.
So
the last phlebotomist I went to did that little dig around where it's not straight in. They kind of go at a couple of angles. And I'm like, bitch, I'm an artist and I make stuff. I understand angles. What are you just perforating my veins? But yeah.
Perforating my veins. You got a goddamn sprinkler shooting out of your arm.
Better be glad one of my boyfriends is a vampire. Shit.
So I think that's probably the first spooky thing that has come up, vampire. So do we want to shift gears a little bit. I think Stefan,
Yes.
I'll talk about vampires all day.
well, but
I'll
you
talk
had
about
one
vampires.
thing that you said
All day, all night.
beginning you wanted to ask us about, like what are
Oh, it wasn't about vampires, but
Oh,
I don't know if you guys saw in the news recently, but there is I don't know, I haven't dug into it yet, but there's rumor that embedded into into the defense spending bill was a clause that said disclosure needed to happen within 100
in
days.
180. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about this too.
but my thing is
And
but how much of it, like disclosure is like a whole bus of stuff, but they don't have to give
Sure.
us a whole bus of stuff. Like they could give us like a briefcase and say, okay, here you go, we disclosed it, you know.
Sure. I mean, that's what they did in the past. I mean, that's what they've always done. Anytime they've given us disclosure, they basically told us the stuff we already knew. But I mean, Marco Rubio is the one that's ahead of this and has been for a while. He's the one that really pushed that new task force and all of that stuff. And he's really pushing to get this stuff out there. So
Have you, I was watching
I'm
I was,
down.
I was watching this documentary on Amazon Prime called ET's Among Us. And there's like 6 of them, I think. 6 different ones. ET's Among Us 1, 2, so on through 6. Anyways, I was watching the first one, and he was talking. One of the guys on there was talking about how Warner von Braun, at one point in time in his, like when he was talking early on and stuff, he said, you know, basically what you're going to have is like the first threat is going to be communism. Then when that is over, the next threat is going to be terrorism. And then when that is over, the next threat is going to be from space. And that's pretty much where we are.
Where we are. Yeah, I've heard that before too. And yeah, that's exactly where we are, because we went through communism and we have spent the last 20 years fighting terrorism. And yeah, that's the next big threat, because I was thinking about it the other day. I was watching DC animated cartoon Sergeant Rock. It was like set in World War II and had like monsters and stuff. It was good. But anyways, one of the things I thought about, I was like, I don't know that we could ever go back to fighting war the way we used to pre the Middle East wars, because if war's not fought that way anymore.
Yeah.
And like that whole idea of sending a troop in, like, and you know, you're clashing almost like it's like the 1600s,
Yeah.
you know, with swords and stuff. That's not going to happen anymore. We've had to change. I don't even know that
Well,
they train them that way anymore.
Think about it though. It's adapted because that happens digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
sent
and
in
so
to
much of
invade,
it
like,
now is drones and shit
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I mean, you look at the first when we first went into Afghanistan back in 2001, 2002, like they just the aerial campaign that was used for that before they ever put troops on the ground. I mean, they just bombed the shit out of Afghanistan
Mhm.
before they ever put troops on the ground to fight in that more land-based battle.
Yeah.
I mean, in you're right. I mean, when you look at like World War II and the Korean War and Vietnam, we just didn't have. We had planes and stuff like that then, but we just didn't have the air superiority that I think that we have today. The fact that they can have a plane 10 miles up, drop a bomb and guide it to where it needs to go via someone pointing a laser on the target from the ground.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's
And the
just
same thing. It's like they don't even send a plane anymore. It's a drone.
Yeah,
it's
it's a
somebody
drone.
sitting in New
Yeah.
York playing a game. And I saw this that they even use that now in ground warfare and stuff like that. A lot of the devices and stuff that they use are like Xbox controllers, because they know the younger people are gonna better use that. They already know how to use those, and they use that in actual war.
It's funny. I was
Crazy.
talking to somebody like I don't know, 20 or 25 years ago, saying that all these very military lifelike military games that are out there today are just training the future soldiers.
Yeah. I've heard
Last
that's
Star
that
Kid all the
whole-
way.
That's what I say, Last Starfighter. Yeah, that's
Starfighter. I said
exactly
Star
what
Kid.
That's because there is a movie Star Kid. But yeah, I just pulled up the article on this. I was wrong. It wasn't in the defense bill. It was in the COVID
bill.
relief bill. Which is a random ass place to put it. But yeah, so
That's how
Marco
they do,
Rubio
though.
said he wrote the provision. He said it requires a detailed analysis of unidentified aerial phenomena data and intelligence reporting collected or held by the Office of Naval Intelligence to be submitted within 180 days. And the report must include a detailed analysis of data of the FBI, which was derived from investigations of intrusions of unidentified aerial phenomena data over restricted United States airspace, along with an assessment of whether this UAP activity may be attributed to one or more foreign adversaries. So that's essentially, and of course Christopher Mellon and those guys from Unidentified are basically saying this is long overdue, such and such.
Well,
I'm sure that'll be a big part of the new season.
But something else that came up on this ET's Among Us documentary is that this was already all done back in 1977. Like, they put together a group, they came back and said, "Yep, it's UFOs. It's they're visiting us from intelligent life," and they submitted that report to Congress to deliver to President Carter.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing came of it. So
yeah, because Carter was a believer in UFOs,
right?
And so I know he really pushed for that to happen. And then I think I was telling you I saw a documentary. It was like UFOs in the White House or something like that. And I'm actually reading a book right now too. But yeah, it talks about that, about how like Clinton was like, "I'm gonna disclosure. And then he gets saying, he's like, I can't talk about it. And Carter, same thing, pushed it. And I was like, I can't talk about it.
Well, what's like, so, again, I'm gonna go back to this doc because it's fresh in my mind, but they were talking about how there's this like organization, defense, I can't remember the exact word. It's like defense something committee that basically, this gets into like really heavy conspiracy theory stuff, but they basically say that this defense committee owns all of the major media outlets, and that this committee has to vet the person that's going to be nominated as candidate for president before they can be nominated, to make sure that they'll be able to handle the briefing about UFOs, so that they won't go out and spill their guts. So, something that everybody kind of talks about is that if there were UFOs and Trump knew about it, he would have already tweeted about it. But makes me wonder if, like, because Trump as president back even in 2016 was so kind of like off the wall out there that nobody really expected it to happen. I wonder if he didn't go through the same level of debriefing, so to speak.
Or they didn't tell him. That's something I've heard too, is that not all presidents get told. Like, it is the ones that they feel, or the ones that really push, and he's not one that's pushing. He don't care about that. Unless he can figure out how to make a Trump Tower on the moon, and I'm not trying to be political, but
no, but I mean, there already is actually a tower on the moon, and it could be Trump Tower. I don't know, but
right.
But
I don't know.
So something kind of along those same lines is I wanted to ask you all about, was what do you? And now I'm totally blanking on what I was going to say. Crap. Oh, alien abduction.
I didn't know what the hell you were going to say. Milk prices.
I thought you were going to say milk duds.
Ultra terrestrials made of milk. That's all I got.
That's actually why they're the Greys, is they bathe in milk.
Ew, so it's like all their dirt. Oh, it's like snow up north.
So anyways, alien abduction, something that, so I watched this, I think it was like ET's Among Us 2 or 3. I don't remember now. I've watched so much stuff the last 2 days, but
sounds like you've made up really bad sci-fi movies.
I know.
ET's Among Us
19. Yeah. Macaulay Culkin starring, and
I'd watch that.
Yeah. So anyways, alien abduction. They interview a couple of different abductees, and they're talking about how the feelings that they get when they're being abducted is their body goes numb, like they can't move. They feel a presence in the room. The entities that come into the room just kind of walk into the room, like through walls, through whatever medium is there. Nothing can keep them out. If they're sleeping with a partner, that partner seems they use the word turned off or oblivious to what's going on.
Yep.
Um, and then they talk about how they feel like they're weightless as they just kind of lift up out of bed. They go weightless, and then the next thing you know, they're in like some examination type room or whatever the case would be. But the thing that I thought about, and I sent you all a message. I want to hear your thoughts. All of those things, all of that description there sounds a hell of a lot like astral travel.
It does. It sounds like astral travel, but it also sounds like night hag sleep paralysis in the very beginning there.
Okay, so two things. I was hoping you would say also the ones that get phased through the wall, like the word gravy, like moving through gravy.
Yeah.
I've seen in a couple of different like reports.
Yeah, like,
So
I've heard
let's not
jello
forget
or
the
gravy.
let's not forget the astral gravy in our astral stew. Okay. But I remember I sent you a link of this dude, and he calls it this theory that I'm so into right now. He calls it the phase and astral projection, out of body experiences and lucid dreams are all a person's latent talent towards experiencing the phase. That they're all like how like now we use ultra terrestrial quite commonly in our parlance.
Yeah.
I've taken to just being like, oh, it's all the phase. I don't know where I line up with that. I'm still doing my own experiments to see, because they all do sort of intersect with each other in some weird
Well, it's
multidimensional
interesting
form.
to see how we've been talking a lot over the last year about things intersecting. So we've got the phase there that kind of intersects those things. Us talking about ETs, UTs, ghosts, and cryptids all possibly being the same. It's like, in a way, it kind of is shrinking down what we need to study in a sense.
Well,
if accurate.
It also makes you think that maybe all of this stuff, we've talked about it before, about how people refer to things differently depending on what region they're from or what area of the country they grew up in or the world, right? And so is it very possible or plausible that a lot of so this width, if you will, of cryptids and aliens or extraterrestrials is really a lot narrower, but because of people's names that they've assigned to things, depending on their region or where they grew up, it makes it seem broader, but really it's a narrow field, right?
For sure. I mean, when Brad and I covered night hags, we covered night hag lore from around the world and shared what different cultures referred to that were similar to what a night hag is. But really, at the end of the day, even though they have different things that they may do or blah, 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 it's all essentially at the end of the day, a night hag, and the same can be said about anything. And I've always said that it's like, like we've got these things that have existed through history, even at a time when peoples didn't talk to each other. So it's like you had like Native Americans and Asian folks and Europeans all believing in ghosts, but no one was like going to like China to be like, hey, let me introduce you guys to ghosts. Right. Like they had their own versions. Same thing with dragons and things like that. It's like, how are these things able to be similar?
Well, and when
I'm going to call this the Johnny Ghosty seed theory.
So, but when you talk about though, like, the whole night hag thing, so my interpretation of night hags is just that they are entities that I was interacting with when I was astral projecting, and then I was startled awake, but I wasn't really fully awake. Like my mind was kind of brought back to this plane temporarily, and while it was here, it saw an overlap of what I was seeing in the astral plane overlapping with what I'm seeing in the physical plane. And so that's why those entities aren't really there. That's why they don't interact with the person that's sleeping next to me or in the next room or whatever, because they're not really there. They're overlapping the two planes, if you will, between the astral and the physical. But they appear to me like they're in my room because my physical eyes are seeing my room surroundings, even though my third eye is still seeing them in the astral plane. So they appear to be there and interact with me, but really they're not. or they're not in the
I'd
physical
be
plane.
curious to see if there's a two, three people or whatever that maybe share a bed, share a room, have had shared night hag instances. I'd be curious to look into that.
Well, and if they
See if there's
do,
shared experiences.
do they all have the sleep paralysis? Because you have to remember, sleep paralysis by itself is just a natural condition. Your body,
Mhm.
when you go to sleep at night, your muscles in your body kind of shut down for sleep mode. And so sleep
Right.
paralysis by itself is natural. The seeing of
Right.
things while in sleep paralysis is what startles people. You see something spooky in your room that you can't explain, and your first instinct is to move to get away from it.
So
but you
then,
can't.
On the
so
side-based ones, yeah. But
let me peel back a bit and then say, so that's how our eyes, our physical eyes, are interpreting the astral plane.
Yes, because for a split second we're brought back. Something moved. Our partner in bed moved. An animal jumped on the bed. Something that reawaken our what you call it, the part of our mind that is always awake, conscious mind. So like it brought up the conscious mind, and then that conscious mind turned on your eyeballs and said, hey, investigate that and see what it is. But your unconscious mind, your third eye and all that kind of stuff, it was still experiencing things in the astral plane. And so for a brief period of time, the two overlapped each other. And so you interpret that as scary things in your room, when in all actuality, it's just things that you're interacting with in the astral plane
But
that
can
look
your
scary.
astral
okay, hold on,
body
stop.
still
You all
be-
give me half a second. No, you do this,
Yes,
and it's
please.
like 30 topics back, because this is a Carlos well, so many fucking points. Pause. Like Carlos Castaneda, I'll come back around to him with the whole overlap of physical things and astral things. This is coming from your study and your perspective of that, because the Robert Bruce book that I sent you or showed you, Astral Dynamics, he's talking about copies and the reintegration. So it's the astral copy that would be having these memories, and it's your mind integrating them poorly, creating this traumatic experience out of there that's not always sight based. A lot of my night hags were sound based. And okay, now catching up. But yeah, like if have you read any of the Don Juan stuff? Like
No.
oh
No.
god, dude.
Yeah, you had me read a lot of that. So
It's almost time for you to read them, Josh. Like
Okay.
almost.
It
But
is.
in
He'd
the art
really
of
dig that, yeah.
in the Art of Dreaming, I think, or another one, one of his teachers is coaching him because he's seeing this creature. He's kind of in that journey and out of the journey at the same time, and he sees this creature like dying, and then all of a sudden his sort of experience resolves itself to it's just a plastic bag caught on a piece of plant.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I must imagine it like you did. But his teacher, and I think it's Don Juan, it's either Juan or Gerudo, one of those, and I'm butchering the names, I know, said, no, you gave up on it. How did he phrase it? But basically saying that you were seeing something true, but your waking mind rejected it and incorporated it into the physical reality.
It's kind of like it's kind of like when you stare at, like, you see something on a wall or in a store or in a storefront or just walking down the street, and you can't quite figure out what it is. Like, you stare at it for a long time. You're like, what the hell is that? And then when you
realize it's your face in the reflection.
but then when you finally see what it is, you can no longer see what you were trying to figure out what it was.
Oh, that's like a Zen koan. Once you teach a child that thing is a bird, they will never see it truly again from that moment on.
Yeah. Hell, it almost gets into Four Agreements too.
Yeah. I know I'm butchering that. Like, did that make sense what I said?
Yeah.
Like, you tell a child a bird's a bird,
right,
and they lose the ability to truly see the bird.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you
But
only see it as others have told you to see it.
Right.
But also, I mean, aren't we multidimensional, like, fluctuations? We consider this our 3D body, but it's actually multiple dimensions doing their thing that casts this byproduct that we decide to inhabit. So why can't these things that you're seeing, why do they have to just be a coat thrown across something,
Yeah.
and be whatever it was. Why does it have to be one or the other? Isn't that just more of your rational mind
Well,
trying
yeah.
to justify reality?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, so if you think about it this way, what you were just saying is if you look at a coat glanced across a chair and you for a split second think that that's a person laying across a chair, but then your rational mind, if you will, comes along and says, nope, that's actually a coat laying across a chair. There's no reason why it couldn't also be a person laying across a chair. You just have ruled that out. You've said, nope, it's a coat, and I'm going to move on from its coat because, I read this somewhere else, or maybe I heard it, that the human brain is constantly trying to protect you from various things, and so
Everything.
from everything, and so it will tell you things are something else to
To keep you on alert, like, right, the uncanny valley and other things. It's like, I wish you were using different than just people, like seeing a person or a face. That is part of what our species
Right.
evolved, was that reaction to see faces everywhere,
right.
to look out and then to perceive things humanoid. But I'm talking about like the shit that exists on the astral plane that doesn't have a typical shape. And who's to say that it's not also inhabiting another plane? And that's why that's why the jacket landed in the way that it did after you threw it, was because a couple of dimensions were overlapping in a moment.
Yeah,
That's what I
really.
was trying to say.
Is that why your face is pink? Is because your head's about to explode?
Yes. I'm like, this is so much information.
But no,
This is all good.
this is all great conversation because it's really making me think. So, I don't know where to go from here. Stefan, you got anything else?
No,
Yeah,
that's got me. My brain's thinking now. I mean, this might be a good stopping point.
Yeah.
To let everybody soak in what we were just talking
Yeah.
about, because I'm already like, I got some books lined up. I want to start reading.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, and I'm like, I want to follow up with. So when do you think I'm going to be ready to read those Don One books? So
I said it like that because I knew you wouldn't be able to resist them now. Ha.
Mhm. I already sent you a link to The Art of Dreaming. I think you'd dig it.
okay, I think I might have that. I think I've bought it on Audible. I just haven't listened to it yet.
Carlos Castaneda.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
So, all right. So we're going to wrap up this second episode of Astral Stew. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Santosh and Stefan, for being here. Great conversation again tonight. And you all can look for these. Make sure you subscribe, click the little bell so that you know when the next one comes out and when all the other stuff that gets posted comes out for Fearscape. So
monthly here on the Fearscape Media Network.
That's right.
FearscapeMedia.com.
Fearscape Media.
All right. So this is been Josh, and the truth is out there.
This has been Stefan. I will catch y'all on flip side.
This is Santosh, and I still don't have a goodbye line.
That's your byline.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I like
that's
that
what it
one
is.
you said.